Hello, and welcome to Temporal Horizons Summer Podcast. Please enjoy the show.
Welcome to Temporal Horizons Productions Summer Podcast, a talk show where we dive into the captivating world of theatre and multimedia productions. Whether you're an avid theatre enthusiast or someone looking to explore the cutting-edge world of art, technology, and creative productions, this podcast episode is your backstage pass to learn more about this industry and the people behind it. I'm your host, Pauline Pericaud, and today we have an exciting episode lined up as we shine the spotlight on two talented individuals who recently started their own production company, Alexander Chettur and Jean Daly. Welcome both.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
First, how are you today? How do you feel today?
Feel very good. Yeah, sun's out. It's a nice day. So yeah, feel fantastic.
Very good. Nice to see the sun for a change instead of being hidden behind clouds.
Definitely feels like a start of spring, maybe summery soon. Yeah,
For sure. The latest. It's taken much long enough. But how are you today, Pauline?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, very good. Very happy to see the sun too. We all love a bit of sun. Brilliant. So first, I'm going to start a little bit introducing you. So both Alex and Jean, you have recently started your own company, Silverman Pictures, both working as independent creatives in the media. You're both media artists, and you've recently both graduated as well. So can you tell me a little bit about that first? So maybe Jean first, you can talk about your graduation, what you've done there, and then Alex, you can follow up.
Yeah, so obviously graduated in first, which is great. And then since graduating, I actually got to work with Temporal Horizons. I did the miniseries Dracula, which was really, really, really good to do. It was audio miniseries. So I haven't really done much, like just audio. So it was a really good experience, and working with lovely people, yourself as well, which was really, really good an experience to do. And then from that, I then in talks with Alex and coming up with the idea, which was originally his idea for Inner Rhythm. And then like he's like sending me some scripts and having a look at that, and then we came to ideas of what it could be. As Inner Rhythm is only my second project since graduating, so it's really interesting to do from audio to film, which is really, really exciting because I don't have much experience working directing film, mainly predominantly theatre, acting theatre, predominantly in theatre, but it was really interesting to get to that side of it and working with Alex, who's mainly in film. And yeah, it was really got to do the music for it as well, which was very, very, it was very fun to do. It's just like having free reign of getting to do all that. And also working with Silver Moon as I was like a guest, kind of working with Alex for it. But no, it was really lovely getting to work with that and starting on a new project since graduating. It was great because once you graduate and then you're like, what do I do now kind of thing. So it was really nice transition from like graduating, going straight into like the audio series and going straight from that into Inner Rhythm. It felt really good to constantly be in that creative type mindset for it.
Right, just before jumping, Alex, I'm gonna just jump in. How did you find then, because you said you're doing more theatre during all the graduation process and everything, and now you're jumping into production and music and lots of stuff. So how did you find this transition? How did you manage it?
It was quite interesting. So I kept looking at it from like a theatre perspective, like when me and Alex would have chats of it, like, oh, from this point of view, we could, and Alex would be like, yeah, but we're doing it. Is this so? But it was quite interesting to look at some from a theatre mindset and a film mindset, because we kind of managed to put some elements in both, like almost like the physical theatre elements for certain things. But yeah, it was quite a slight change to do it. The music, when looking at the music side of it, I've always been quite into the music and producing, not say producing, but like creating music and stuff. I play the violin myself, so it's really nice to be able to I don't think I actually created music since back to GCSE in that. So it was kind of like looking back of, oh, what do I do? But then kind of going through, the very early drafts of the soundtrack were quite experimental of learning what did work or didn't work. And it's one of those things you're like, oh, this sounds really great. And then look back over and go, oh no, I don't know what I was thinking. We'll try that again. So it was a bit of a trial and error and slight adjustment to come out of the this isn't theatre, it's film kind of mindset. But it was obviously working with Alex, it was really great because he's kind of helping me, like, oh, remember it's that camera, not audience. So it was good to kind of guide me with that way as well. So it was much of a learning curve, definitely. I definitely think I've learned a lot from it, or something that I was like, oh, film, good, I really like theatre, but it's kind of opened up a little gateway for me of film and sparked some kind of potential ideas of what I thought, oh, could be theatre, go, oh, actually, maybe I could make this into film kind of instead. So yeah, it's definitely really eye-opening, I found.
Brilliant. Yeah, so lots of threads just joining together and yeah, brilliant. That sounds amazing. So yeah, creative space is definitely a trial start, and then that's where everything emerges. Brilliant. Alex, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, where do I begin now with the questions? So, because Jean's covered a hell of a lot, incredible stuff.
That's fine. Just, if you can talk maybe same about your background in graduation, and then continue into what you did to the next project, and then continue into your productions.
Lovely. So, when I graduated, when did I graduate? Yeah, it was about last year. So I graduated with first in film and television production. So I worked on looking at film, looking at how film works, and just basically the importance of film, because I actually did meet Jean through the acting course, which we did acting and directing for stage, and mainly stage focus. But then I thought, I like film. I really like the position of like having your vision brought to life through a camera format. So that's why I worked with film and stuff and doing filmmaking. And that is a course. So right after graduating, I worked again with Temporal Horizons on their project of Dracula and audio miniseries, which I had variation of roles on the project and absolutely loved and adored doing the project, because not only was it such an incredible piece that Harry came to me with in terms of what he wanted as a stimulus for like sounds, for all sorts of different things, but also how much was there in terms of levels, how much was going to be done, and great opportunity to meet people such as yourself, Pauline, and other people within the ensemble of the actors. So it was a really good project to do, and really helped to start to open up my creative potential, especially some of the sounds that were created from the project, which I do. Two of the sounds actually, I have to admit, but I'll won't get into them until later on. Then after Dracula had wrapped up in terms of production, I had an idea thinking about how can I start distributing work, and how can I start making a company that could sort of start to avenue direct different forms of media, different forms of performative materials such as theatre, film, TV, music videos, a whole potential where there's whole creative possibility. And that's how Silver Moon Pictures was born, because how I imagine like filmmaking and stuff, or storytelling in general, is to have a sort of theme of relevance and how things can really be highlighted going beyond the Silver Moon as it's possible within the realms of storytelling. So that's what Silver Moon Pictures for myself is, and what I hope it means to audiences and to practitioners that collaboratively work with Silver Moon. And then, as Jean was saying, we started working on In a Rhythm together, in which I wrote the original draft more as a high school melodrama, and showed the idea to Jean. She basically said, it's great, but it could work even better if it was like this. And then basically I proposed to Jean that we work on the script together, and we basically tackle it, not just she gives me notes and I do it, we work on it together in a very collaborative sense. And that was really, really something that I enjoyed. It was really, really nice to have that person to say, yeah, it's very good, but if you try it like this or try it like that, it'll start to help to almost add a different perspective or voice. Because sometimes working on your own as a director, there's so much creative potential there, but there's so much you're so narrowly seen from one point of view. It's just amazing to have different voices, different eyes, different perspectives on projects, and that's something that I really appreciate Jean doing. Plus, also every other thing that Jean did during the project. And And that's how we got to the concept, the new concept of Inner Rhythm, and that's how we've progressed filming, and now we're to this stage of completion on Inner Rhythm. And that's something I'm really proud to say so far out of graduating, since doing Dracula with Temporal and doing setting up Silver Moon with Inner Rhythm and the other projects to come. It's something that I can really say it's really taken a strong start to. It's taken a really strong start into the right direction.
Brilliant. That sounds really great. Yeah, definitely, like, lots to talk about now. Silver Moon, obviously, Silver Moon Pictures. So as the production. We're going to talk a little bit more into that later. But now you've talked about Inner Rhythm, so I'm interested and I want to know more. Inner Rhythm, so that's your short film.
Yes, that is our short film, consisting of now, I think, 12, 13 minutes, I believe, in running.
Brilliant. So are you still editing it now? How's that going? And just wanted to have like a bit of highlights into like, because you've released the trailer already, so it's out there for everyone to look at. So yeah, tell us about maybe the trials that you've had into making it. You've already talked a little bit about the creative process of how it came to be. Maybe talk about how it is now.
So from conceiving it, I think I from my point of view, which is obviously a bit different from Jean's point of view, seeing it from my point of view was very much how is it all going to be shot, how is it all going to be edited, how is it all going to be told through visual storytelling, and which Jean was thinking about the movement, about the sophistication, about the narrative and stuff. Just meshing the whole two together into one was really beneficial to have, and working really well collaboratively with Lucy Hill and the Dimensions Dance Company of South Essex College really played into our advantage with just how talented each dancer was within that process. So how they came up with ideas, came up with stimuluses and tasks that we curated for them was really beneficial to have, and just shooting with them along with our principal cast of Bryony Pollard and Jake Webb are really like grateful artists to have. So just when you have every single person working not for you but with you to help create a vision that you have as a concept, you have as an idea, is something truly special to have. And that's something, when you see it from concept to completion, is something that is truly like incredible to see.
Yeah, I think kind of like going off of that of what Alex was saying, like where, like I know like when you were like kind of filming it, you were thinking of, okay, how can I edit this and camera angles? And I was like, I'd come up to you and be like, I've got a great idea. I don't know how you're going to edit, don't know how you're going to film it, but I think this would be a cool idea. And it's like you were kind of deconstructing the ideas, because you would think, if you don't mind saying, in more kind of like a technical kind of way of the cameraing this, and I'd be like, I've got this crazy idea, let's try it. And you'd be like, don't know how we're going to do it, but we can give it a go. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, which was quite fun to do. And I think that's definitely from where I've done in theatre, and I haven't had to worry so much about like the cameraing, the editing. I'm like, let's just try it. And I'd sometimes forget about Alex having to edit it, and I'm like, I've got this really cool idea, like we could add this and that, and Alex is like, yeah, I can't do, like, yeah, that's gonna be, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's but no, it was really good. Definitely getting to work with the dancers was really amazing, again, because we're not predominantly dancers ourselves. It's quite trying to, like, for me, think back on like the physical theatre aspects and the movement kind of aspects. Would say to the dancers, we kind of have this idea, and somehow we'd describe it in some way, and then they'd come back and we'd be like, that's exactly it. Like, how you understood what we meant from a non-dancer perspective, but like that's it. Like sometimes we'd just give them a piece of music and like 3 words, and we're like, this is what we kind of, and then they'd come back and we'd be like, that's exactly how we imagined it. That's really, and they were just really nice to work with as well, like really open, because we always wanted it to be collaborative as well. So we'd be like, if they've got their own ideas, or if our principal cast have own ideas, like really just it's like you create what you want to create and then come back to us and we'll mold it around you. Like when I was creating the music for it, it was very much of, I'll create the music and show it to them, be like, if you feel like, oh, I can't dance to this, or this isn't, I don't feel this, and I'll be like, I'm happy to change it to help suit you, to help, like, you go, I think this movement doesn't quite work. I was like, I'm happy to work with you to create like a really nice piece that I think everyone can like step back and go, oh, this is really good, and say like, oh, I was a part of this. Yeah, I think it's quite good.
Yeah, that sounds like both of you are like good at knowing what you're the best at and then blending it together. So that's the thing like we need to think of, I think, right now in this time and space is technology is moving so fast. We have to realize how to blend the past and the present and the future together. And it seems like you're quite focused on that, not in a specifically knowing place yet, like it's a bit unconsciously that you're doing it in a way. It seems like you're going towards there without even looking at it, and you seem to be doing it really well. So and yeah, so talking a lot about the dancers, how did you come to collaborate with them? Was it with the with people you knew already from the company, or you found the company of dancers?
So we knew where we studied at South Essex College, we were already aware of Dimensions Dance Company, and we've been taught ourselves by Lucy Hill, who is a fantastic choreographer, fantastic teacher, really bubbly person, really positive person, and always thinking about every best possible situation. So she is really fantastic. So we spoke with her a lot about our ideas, about what we wanted, how we could see the film, what kind of spaces we need, what kind of lighting we need. And she was really fantastic in getting us the dancers. So the dance group we actually used was second year degree level students, which were fantastic students, like really focused, really excited, really enthusiastic about their whole project and seeing what their whole piece will turn out to be as well. So they were really great to work with, and that's how we collaborated with them, and then we proposed them the ideas and they were on board with them.
I think it was their first time as well doing like a film type thing, so it's quite nice to look like little learning experience as well for them, getting like a feel of working on like a set kind of thing, and like how sometimes you don't have to do more than one take and trying different things, and like it was really, yeah, it's really good I think great experience for them as well to get to do it. And they were always like, every time we came in, they were always like so happy and so ready to go, because normally we'd have to film it at like, for them, the end of the day, so they'd had like a whole day of dance lessons, a whole day of dance rehearsals, so they'd be like tired, they'd like sweating or that, but they'd always give it like 100% and always be so enthusiastic about it. And like you wouldn't know that, like they're like at one point, I think they had like their dance show coming up, and they had like their like essays due, their coursework, and like so much different things, but they'd still always give it 100% and they'd always just be so happy and so like really nice, and like, oh, what are we doing today? I can't wait for today. And yeah, it was really, really, really always nice, looking forward to just being like, oh, like their energy was always so high, no matter what they'd been through for the day. It was just really nice and welcoming to come into that.
That's brilliant. I'm looking forward to it, to seeing it like on screen, because obviously, yeah, dancing, we think about dance as physical media, as something we go to see at the ballet or mainly. So it must be really interesting to see on camera how it focuses. And you on your part as well, had to think about cameras angles for dance, because it can probably look messy if you choose the wrong angle. So it'll be very interesting to see how you manage that. I'm really looking forward to it. And maybe into more the storytelling part, are you willing to share a little bit about that, about the storytelling of the movie, or what you wanted to transpire from that?
Absolutely. So the story was critical to try for us to nail down within the redevelop process of the actual project. And for us, it was imperative. We had to always know to have a key, like, defining moment that would stand out to us within each scene, within each beat. So there would always be a change within a scene, that whether it be a good change or a bad change, it always start off one way and end another. So in terms of the story, what we can reveal, what I want to reveal, is just basically that it focuses on a girl called Daniela, played by the amazing and brilliantly talented Bryony Pollard, who basically is this dancer who's not feeling, is kind of at a crossroads right now within her like training. She's really much in a place of uncertainty, knowing if dance is a career she wants to pursue, if dance isn't a career she wants to pursue. So she's kind of on that knife edge, basically thinking where is she going, what she wants to do. And from what the film story tells, what we want to tell is basically it shows there is multiple directions in front of you. Yes, they can be daunting, they can be challenging, they can be quite scary, because there is that certainty of unknown, certainty of failure, certainty of lots of things going wrong. But there's always that thing behind you, which was the adolescence, the history, the stuff that helped made you who you are in that point, and stuff that can take you even further. So it's basically, you have the choice to live your life, but you also have the choice of your career. But you can do both as well, as long as you can find time for both and basically have that perfect balance, essentially.
I think as well, like when we were like looking in the early drafts of Inner Rhythm, we were quite dialogue heavy, and we were looking at it and we were thinking like we want like dance to be the main focus, and we were kind of like taking a step back from the script and go, if it's really dialogue heavy, where is the dance element of it? So then that's when we came up with the idea of let the dance do the speaking, and have as you like seen in the trailers, it's all voiceover. So we were like, we want to have the dance to tell the story. It's almost as if like the voiceover is like the subtitles for what the dance is saying, kind of thing. We wanted it to be that kind of where the main focus is the dance, that's everything, and then the added bit is like the voiceover and the dialogue, adding it in, and kind of like, as I said, like the subtitles kind of like saying what it is. But yeah, it's quite interesting, because I think like before we edited it, we did a cut without like the dialogue, and watching it without dialogue is also quite interesting, and you still get the same sense of what's happening in a similar sense of the story, and then when you add the dialogue, it just kind of makes it, so it's quite interesting actually that you could take away the dialogue and the effect that has on it, and how it still has the same sense of the story that we wanted to tell through the dance. And I think that's the main point of how we wanted the dance to be focused, and it is quite dance focused with it. I think that's quite a nice point to have with it as well, being able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard so many directors and script writers as well mentioning that for film media, you need to think about not being too dialogue heavy, because otherwise there's, as you said, you want to have the dance as the main speaker, let's say, but you also have the editing as the main speaker, and the basically cinematography as the main speaker. So you have to engage all these elements together. But then if you have on top of it all this dialogue that you have to incorporate, then that would be too heavy. A lot of directors find that the less dialogue you can have in a film, the best to show your point of view. So that sounds like you grasped that really well. So yeah, definitely, really, really good. So now jumping on back to Silver Moon Pictures, just gonna ask a little bit about maybe let me just find the point first. Yeah, we can go into aspirations and vision, I think, about your production and where you see it going. So maybe let's talk about what you found into creating Inner Rhythm, and what you're thinking into incorporating from that into the production, and what you see the production going, where you see it going from what you've done now with this project.
I think from working on Inner Rhythm on a lot of different roles and how it's helped shape me for this point where I am now, it's made me think a lot about how, like June was saying earlier, how much dialogue is actually essential and key in terms of writing action, in terms of writing like stage direction, or sorry, not stage direction, scene direction, and how action can be told, because it's that famous phrase, show, don't tell. So how much of that can be taken into next projects going forward, and then how much can be passed on to thinking, okay, within that role, not only do we have to create a narrative, not only do we have to create an arc, not only do we have to create characters that have a start point and an end point, both before and after the story, but also how much dialogue is actually essential to the film and how much dialogue is needed. But what's even funnier, like thinking about back to the script of In a Rhythm, is like sometimes you just write a simple action of they dance, but it could literally be a dance that goes on for about 5-10 minutes that can literally expand a beautiful sequence and stuff. So I think it'll be thinking carefully about the actions that go into a script along with the directing and just how much dialogue's required, really. So whether I need loads of exposition or none.
I think for me, where it was my first time working with Silver Moon Pictures as well, which hopefully you'd like to work more in the future. I think as well, that's quite interesting. It's actually our first time, In a Rhythm was our first time working together as well. I think like as a proper project, we've like briefly worked, like when we did Dracula, we briefly worked like together as like individual kind of like artists, but working as like with the company as Silver Moon, it was quite interesting as well. And I think as well, while working in the room, it really, I think, helped for me to develop the kind of style that I like when it comes to directing and organizing and like going into like the production. It kind of helped me define of, oh, I like to do things this way instead of that way, which is quite interesting. I think that's quite a fun thing. We sometimes do things differently when it comes to production and sorting out like the story and sorting out different things, which is quite interesting. But you know, working with In a Rhythm was it was really nice to work with Silver Moon on this and have that opportunity. Because when you first sent me the script, I was just, you're like, oh, what do you think of this? I was like giving her notes and that, and then we started talking more and more. And then when you said like, oh, did you want to actually come on and work? I was like, yeah, it'd be really nice to be a part of this project and fully be able to have I think as when we first created, we had like slightly separate creative ideas, and whereas it was predominantly your script, you had like this idea, I want it this way, and I obviously had my own vision of it. So I think that's as well, when working like as like a two, you need to make sure you're on the same page like creatively, but also learning, I think, when to kind of like, oh, what's the word? Oh,
I say the word is compromise.
That's the word, compromise. When you know when to like say, even though you've got a strong idea, when to learn to like let go of that idea and let go, oh, we'll do that instead. And I think that was really good working with that through this. We had like some ideas and it was really lovely to work with Silver Moon through that, and hopefully maybe in the future, if you ever need anyone else again to work with or any other projects, I'll be happy to come on board and work with you on those ones. Because I think as well, it's the first kind of production that Silver Moon has actually done as well. So I think it'll be really good as well. Very strong. I say I'm quite biased. Very strong quite project as well to start off with the company. So yeah, it's really good.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. I think a good start point in starting a company is to not rely only on yourself and ask for help. So yeah, definitely find the creatives that you want to work for, find the people that you want to surround yourself with, and then work with them and compromise. That's part of, I think, of every kind of like any relationship in business, in everything. You have to compromise and learn how to listen, I think, really well. So yeah, really good. In terms of I'm going to dip a little bit diver into the business part, maybe Alex of Silver Moon Pictures, but just wanted to ask Jean quickly, how did you like the directing? Because you said that obviously like predominantly were like artists, actor, musician. So do you see yourself doing more directing now?
Yeah, I think when I was at like university before I graduated, I did a little bit of directing, because before I used to be like, I'm not directing, I hate directing, it's not something I want to do. Then I did it at university and I was like, actually, I actually don't mind this. So I've done it a little bit before than doing it this way. I was like, oh, actually, this is quite, yeah, I think maybe in future, it's definitely, before it was very much a closed locked door of, no, not going there. But now I think it's more of, oh, I might, it's actually quite, it's a possibility of an avenue to go down. I wouldn't rule it out. So I think this has really helped me to kind of find what kind of directing style and what I kind of like to do as a director and how I would do things as well. I definitely think acting is still much a forefront of something I definitely want to do, but I'm definitely, before I was like, I just want acting, I don't like directing, but yeah, this has definitely helped me to like definitely not rule it out at all. It's actually kind of I look back and things like, oh, I've got an idea, I could like definitely spark some creative ideas that I could do now, which I probably wouldn't have thought of before, of thinking, oh no, I'm not doing it. I think it's actually shown me, oh no, I can do it. I can, even if it is, as you said, like asking for help, going, oh, could you come on board with me and do it this way? I think it's definitely an avenue I'd like to explore possibly more and find out more myself, what parts of directing I like, what parts I don't. But no, I definitely think it's something I'm more open to than I was before.
Yeah, so what we can take from that is, or for anyone listening or anyone who's in this industry or learning still, is to not rule out anything. Try first and then see if you like it, because you can never know. There's prejudices on everything, so you'd have to first try it, see if you like it, because there's so many aspects of everything in the industry of the film, of theatre, of the multimedia. So try first and then judge. But yeah, Alex, if you want to add on that, and then I can ask you about the business itself.
I think where I've been directing for so long now and just doing these different skills, doing these different things, like such as writing, editing, cinematography, and all these different skills. This is the thing I find that's quite a big problem in the industry. Some people just stick into one goal, one mindset, and they're literally just focused on one thing, especially at a young age or even at an older age, which is all very well and good, but sometimes it's good to add more skills under your belt, more arsenals under your belt, because then it makes you more employable and it helps to add more fluidity in terms of what you can do in terms of skills. So one day someone may say to me, oh, I need a photographer. What do you need? I've got a Canon right here. Well, let's do it. Or if they need an editor, Premiere Pro fired up. Right, what timeline we need? So it's just making yourself more open. And I think what I liked working with Jean in terms of this project is how open we were in terms of this, and how, like, as you said, at the start we weren't listening very well, but then as time got on, ideas got on, and the vision became more clearer, we listened to each other much more in terms of what would happen and how Inner Rhythm would actually conceive itself. So I think it's just having that open mindset and just being very open and receptive to anything, because there's a lot of people who say yes, and there's those people who say, oh yeah, yes, that's fantastic, but there's no people who say yes, but. And they're the people I kind of like, who like to not use the word challenge. They kind of use that term to basically help refine an idea rather than be aggressive or be arrogant against that.
Yeah, I completely get that. Brilliant. Yeah, that makes complete sense with like the directing point of view, and then try everything just to have everything. So you're sure that first you can do it yourself, but then as well, if you employ someone, you know the skills that you want, the level of skills that you want as well. Good. So yeah, tell me.
It's almost like being a sponge. So like the more water you absorb, the more like sort of bigger you get, and the more like sort of strength you hold. But in terms of like, if you're just a sponge that just rejects the water, then that's kind of what it is. So essentially, be a sponge where you can absorb as much as possible.
I like the analogy. Be a sponge. That's great. I'll take that. I'll give that. I'll be a sponge. No, yeah. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to do it. So going back into seriousness. I want to talk business. So you've kind of touched upon that already, but I want to know how you came with the idea of creating Silvermoon Pictures, and how do you find time basically to allow to the business part of it and then the creative part, because that could be a little bit conflicting from times, as well as all other artists may know, you are your own business. So when you create a proper business, how did you manage that? How did you come up to that?
Oh, I'm still asking that question to this day, to be honest. So how it all started off in terms of Silver Moon's business side and the actual working side of it, it kind of came down to looking at what can be done in terms of like projects and stuff firstly, and how much would need to be set aside for each project. So essentially it all comes down to budgeting when it comes to that. So basically looking at the budget sheets, thinking what kind of logistical elements do I need? What logistical elements do I have already, such as kit of my own and stuff, which is a lot of things I don't put into any budget sheets anymore, because I know if I've got the kit, no need to put any income in that, no need to put any expenses into that. But as a business model goes, it's just basically the more that, well, it's not, I can say this now, it's currently still in a very dormant stage. So it's still, I'm still learning how to like manage the business. I'm still learning the different things that go into like what goes into a business and stuff. But as time will get on, as more projects will come out and more recognition comes to the company, more can go into terms of like expenses, and more stuff can go into that. So essentially at the moment it is sort of like trying to juggle two things at once. It's trying to literally like juggle the personal stuff and the business stuff. So it's literally trying to juggle two chainsaws, which is fun. But it's taking its time. But this is something I knew I'd be taking a personal risk in, but it's something I'd want to do anyway, because I know there's opportunity that can come from it, the creative side along with the business side. So obviously all the funding that needs to go into projects, which comes from like which can come from things like the Arts Council funding, BFI short film funding and stuff like that. All sorts of funding packages will help to increase the ad revenue and help to also just keep stuff going and help keep things being made essentially in that context. So it is just basically trying to balance stuff at the moment. So where it is still a very dormant company, Silver Moon, it's just trying to work its way into stuff. So basically that's it. That's the answer.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I think a lot of creatives at the moment are all in the same pedestals, and we're all like trying to find ways to create, basically, because you could have just find opportunities elsewhere to create stuff, but then that would not be your own, and that would mean that you'd have to find them as well. And I think it's a lot harder to find anything right now in the context of what's happening in the world, and yeah, so creating your own production just means basically your own freedom and your own avenues to do things. That's brilliant. I wanted to ask you both like basically advice for emerging artists that are not yet into the industry. Don't worry. I'm gonna get there. So basically, you've tried everything basically right now with your projects. You've done quite a lot, and I'm sure you've had, like you said, you had trials and errors. So I wanted to ask you, maybe in terms of writing, in terms of finding your own way as an artist, advice on that. Like, you've talked a little bit already about it, but maybe discuss what lessons you learned, if there's anything that rings a bell, comes to mind, if there's anything, errors that you've done that you would tell your younger selves maybe not to do in the artistic way.
To be honest, there's a lot of things I could tell my younger self at the moment. There is a hell of a lot of things I could tell myself in terms of looking at myself from a creative point of view. I think the thing that not just myself, but a lot of creative artists, especially young ones that are being influxed with so many different messages, so many different things, getting so much stuff in their way, need to be told one thing: just never give up. Because it is such an industry that does have the potential to just crush you, destroy you, and just completely deflate you. It's all about making your mistakes. You have the possibility and opportunity to make your mistakes, whether you're still learning, also in the industry. As long as they're not like big major mistakes, you still have the opportunity to make mistakes and learn from them. And I think one of the things that I wish I sort of not maturely knew back then, but sort of something I'm coming to terms with now, is you do have the opportunity to make the mistakes. Just don't keep regressing on them. Don't keep almost thinking about them in a sort of childish way or in a very kind of patronizing way. Just think about them in a really professional, clear way that, yes, there will come times of grievances. There will come times of hardship. There will come times of projects not working possibly. I've had that in the past where I've been on projects and they've completely not worked. They've been the worst experiences of my life, but I've learned something from them and I've taken something from them and ran with them. And I've just basically taken every opportunity to learn something. And I think something I wish I told myself years ago is obstacles create opportunities, because there will come obstacles in your life. You just got to create opportunities from them and think what can be the best route over them.
Yeah, I think kind of similarly going from Alex, it's very much of oh, I forgot my whole point. What was it?
That is heaven. Don't worry. We've talked about it a lot already, so
I think
it's all mixed up.
I think it was kind of very much about, even though you've got a mistake, that's it, you'll never stop learning. I think if you feel like you leave uni and you're like, oh yeah, I've done it, you'll never stop learning. I think it's a great, and the best time to learn is by making mistakes, because then you learn of, oh, that didn't work, but I'll do it again. It's always a learning curve, and very much it's for however many no's you'll get, there'll always be that potential yes, to never stop. And always, if you feel like you've got something that you feel like deserves to be heard or feels like it's such a great idea, I think it's very much just go for it. If you're like, oh, like you can't find anyone like to do it, I think like just do it yourself. Try and persuade it as much as you can to do it, because if you feel like you've got the determination to go and have that in you, it's very much keep that drive. And if someone's like, oh no, like sometimes you just need to like not listen to them, and obviously listen to them, but take on board what they say and go, okay, how can I use that again? Like, how can I use that to grow? Like, if there's any other criticism, instead of taking it as like, oh, they said it was bad, they said it was horrible, kind of reflect on that and be like, okay, they didn't like it. What could I do to make it? How could I make this into something great? Instead of kind of like dwelling on, oh, it's really bad, and like, oh, this, go improve them. Okay, well, actually, no, I can do it. I can do this. And very much where the industry is very hard to break into, and as you said, trying to find work, it's very much, if you feel like you've got a story that deserves to be told and you're very passionate about it, I definitely say try and do as much as you can for yourself, and very much if you like try and find that to put it out there, to be like, no, I feel this needs to be heard, this needs to be like, never stop, try and do it for it.
And be a sponge.
The sponge.
Ultimate
I think
thing.
that'll be our slogan today, be a sponge.
Yes, be a sponge. Yes, be a sponge.
But I like that. I like the fact that there is basically no error in artistic industry. There's no error. There's just opinions about the things that you do, but there's no right or wrong. It only comes with a point of view. So I really like that. Really enjoyed this mindset that you've got of like, just keep trying, just do it, go for it. Even if you're scared of it, just take the first step, and then you'll find people that like it and will join you anyway. And
very much,
yeah, be up to.
Sorry.
Tell me, Jin, tell me.
I think it's very much the like trust your feet kind of like, if you feel like yourself, it's like they know what they're doing. Like if you've got that intuition of, oh, I feel like I should do this, but you've kind of got that, oh, I don't know, it's trust your feet. They'll get you there. They'll know what you're doing. If you've got it in you, they'll know, kind of thing.
Very much an inner rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that coming. Yeah, very good. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for joining today. It was lovely to have you and talk with you about everything. Just to summarize everything, we have talked about your journey in the industry so far of the creative media, multimedia, theatre and film, your experiences there, your productions, your film coming up in a rhythm. We're really much looking forward to seeing it soon. Do we have a date, by the way, a release date?
Not yet. It'll be sometime, hopefully early September, that we're going to be getting a public premiere, but then it'll probably be a year later as it has to do its festival run.
Brilliant. So yeah, for people listening, that's, you can look into Instagram, Silverman Pictures. Is that correct? Yeah, that's the title of Instagram, Silverman Pictures, and you'll see all the other updates there. So yeah, all the experience we've talked a little bit about. For younger artists, don't give up, be a sponge. And then and then all about little extras if you want to listen to that. AIs, writer strikes, what Alex and Jean think about that in the extras. So yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It was, again, lovely to have you. Always good to seeing you work. And we look forward to all the projects coming, because there's apparently tons coming. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening to the podcast today. And we're looking forward to seeing you, and stay tuned for next. Thank you so much.